My name is Jenna Durand, and I am the host of NFW. Today, I want to discuss the strength of a woman. I write romance primarily in the genres of contemporary fantasy and fiction. And one running theme throughout all of my books is strong women. I prefer to focus on a very independent heroine. I do this primarily because I believe in life that, you should be able to take care of yourself. I mean, yeah, you live in a community, you live among people, and you should care for others, and others should care for you. But at the same time, I've always believed that a woman should be able to take care of herself. And so, whenever I'm writing a story, especially a romance story, I focused on making sure that the woman is as independent as the man. Even if they don't start off on even footing, I want by the end of the story to end with the woman finding her own strength and exhibiting it through her actions if she doesn't have it in the beginning. I grew up in a very maternalistic society in the sense that, I was in a single parent household. I was raised by my mother. And my mother is from a Haitian household. She came from Haiti when she was in high school, and she has 16 plus siblings, and a good bit of them are women. So I was surrounded by aunts. And one of the things that I appreciate the most about my aunts is that they are some of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. And I admire that about them. And it's not as if they're strong just to be strong. They're strong because they were forged in fire. They all have been through all of the ups and downs that life has to give you. And they've come out the other side more successful and happier. And relationships can come in so many forms. It really can. What makes one person happy does not necessarily mean that it would make another person happy. Everyone has their own way of interpreting what makes a relationship perfect for them. And I am constantly searching for different variations because, what makes an interesting story is the fact that even if you're reading a book and you don't think, oh, this man is for me, you can kind of understand why the heroine falls for them to begin with. And it is my job as a writer to really translate that with my words on the paper. Whenever I start off on a new story, typically I start off with the female character. For me, she's the most important character. She's the one who's going to carry the reader through a majority of the story. Um, I start off building an idea of what she's going to be like, who she's going to be, getting a general sense of what kind of character I want her to be. And then I build out from there. One of my favorite characters, and I say this all the time, I'm trying to be better about that, but quite honestly, I love all of my characters. I do. I love books in general, and I love reading other writers' works and all of that, and I have a bunch of different favorite characters from everywhere. But when it comes to my characters, there's just a special bond. I think it's because I live with them for so long, and it's kind of like they're my children at this point. But one of the characters that I think about the most in terms of feminine strength is my character Glee from my paranormal series, Shadowy Lights. Glee is a woman who was born into a society where she's a halfling. She's not really accepted by the people in her community because she's half fairy, half nymph, and her mother has quite the reputation. And so you are introduced to her living abroad out of the country from her home with her boyfriend, who happens to be the prince of her home. And there they are able to be whatever they want to be. They can enjoy each other's company. They can live without the judgment of those around them. And that's all in the prologue. And then in the first chapter, it's a couple of years later, and you have a breakup in which insecurities um, and rumors and innuendos create division inside of a relationship. And throughout the book, you're really exploring how you become a stronger person for the person that you are meant to be with. Because not always are you the person that you need to be when you first enter into a relationship in order for that relationship to be successful? It's a concept that I feel like a lot of people don't really think about until it's on them. I have spent a lot of time thinking about it primarily for my writing, but also just in general. Um, I'm a firm believer that people come into your life for a reason. They don't really have to stay, they can stay for even a season, but they came into your life to teach you a lesson. They entered into your life to push you forward because as someone of faith, I just truly believe that um, nothing in your life is by mistake. It's all by design. And so even when you walk down a wrong path, or even when you walk down a path that you don't quite understand or doesn't turn out the way that you anticipated turning out, it's still a lesson to be learned. And the only time it's a waste of time is when you choose not to learn the lesson. And so you're introduced to Glee, who's a very smart, independent woman, but she has certain things in her past that she feels makes her unworthy of love, unworthy of a healthy relationship, unworthy of the person she believes is the other half of her heart. And the book explores that relationship. It explores the idea that sometimes you're not ready to take the leap at the time that you need to take the leap. But that doesn't mean that you don't get a second chance to be with who you want to be with. It's a concept that I explore in a lot of my writing. I really I really love second chance love stories. It's where I guess my bread is buttered. Isn't that the saying? Where my bread is buttered. um, there's something warm about the familiar. There's it's as if when. So I went away for college. I went away for 2 hours away. I didn't go very far, but I went 2 hours away. And my freshman year, I did not have a car. Um, and so when I first moved into my dorm, I was terrified. I was used to having like my older sister, my little sister, my brother, my mother. I was just used to being surrounded by people that I knew. And I was moving into a space where I didn't know my roommate. I didn't really know the city that I was living in. And I was taking on this whole new concept when it came to college. And I was terrified. I was terrified. I didn't know how to even make new friends. It was that bad. Um, and I had to really grow into my own by stepping away from what was familiar to become better and to understand better what it was to be an adult. And I gained a whole new appreciation for my mother because I tell her all the time, she's one of those women who does not like to talk about her age. She wants to be 30 and flirty forever. And I'm always telling her that, you should be proud of the way that you've managed to navigate this life and raise your children and provide for them, because it's not something that comes easily. Like, I think we take it for granted as children, and then when we get older we realize just how important it is. And it's just another indication of the strength in the people that we look to really guide us. So when I'm writing, I want the feminine strength to be on full display. I want the reader to read it and think, wow. And it's not in an unrealistic way. It's not in a way in which you're looking at the character and you're thinking, she's not real. There's no way. There's no one that nice. There's no one that perfect. There's no one who can do this, this, and that. Most of my characters, depending on the time of year that I wrote it, can't cook. A majority of them have a very strong coffee addiction. Some of them have very sarcastic senses of humor. Some of them are very kind, while others are just extremely rude. It really just depends. I write these characters so that, their flaws equal out to their perfection, because that's what a human being is. You have certain things where you are perfect in. You can exemplify whatever it is you need to exemplify in your world, and you can also have flaws that, are relatable. I tend to pick coffee primarily because I have a very severe coffee addiction. I really do not like to go one day without it. And if I do, I'm very, very cranky. And I'm a narcoleptic without it. I will fall asleep anywhere and everywhere without at least one cup of coffee. Um, while we've been in quarantine, and by the time this episode comes out, hopefully we will no longer be in quarantine, I have had a lot of time to really explore the idea of how a woman of strength navigates a relationship. I am the type of person who does not like to ask for help. I spend a lot of time just trying to figure out things and trying to figure out how to make them work for me. I don't really take into consideration that there are others around me who could help me. Um, Maybe some of it is because my mother was a single mother and so she had to do a lot on her own. Some of it is because I feel as if um, I could be let down. But when I'm writing and when I'm creating a character, I try to soften the idea of that because I honestly want to implement that in my own life. I want to be more willing to ask for help. I want to be more willing to be kinder and softer with people and to not only give but also receive. I think it's something that we don't really take into consideration a whole lot, but it's something that we should as women. And it's an uncomfortable thought. It's kind of like, so I was having a conversation with a couple of friends, and we were talking about the fact that it's uncomfortable when men compliment us multiple times in a conversation. And that seems very strange to say, but it's true. Um, I just think it's incredibly awkward. And usually it's based off of like the class of compliments. I'm not really troubled by compliments that are based off of, oh wow, that was really smart, or oh wow, I didn't think about things that way. You're cool. I dislike compliments on my physical appearance. I feel as if they're stated primarily to put me at ease, but all they do is raise my anxiety. And I just feel as if, and it's not even based off of like like believing that the person who's giving the compliment is disingenuous. I have a healthy ego when it comes to my appearance. I think it's primarily based off of the fact that I feel like it's used as a distraction. Like, oh, you've given me a compliment on my appearance, and now we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on my appearance when I don't really want to talk about my appearance. It's not really a conversation that I have all too often, and it's not a conversation I really want to have. Everyone has their own opinion as to what physical beauty is, and I tend not to ask people what their opinion is, primarily because I don't really want to internalize that and make it so that now I'm having to question my own view of my own beauty. Um, I would be really curious to hear and read what my readers think about that, what my listeners think about that. Do you feel as if there are a lot of books out there that really fall into the women of strength category? Do you feel as if you gravitate towards characters in which they focus less on the physical aspects of a relationship and more on the intellectual and everyday life aspects of what a relationship consists of and how to navigate that world? Um, Leave a comment below. And if you like this content, please subscribe. And I will continue to provide. Bye.